continue our series on career options, and one of the careers that has had a huge impact in India and abroad is computers. Now we have with us Mr. Vincent Toscano, who has worked with major IT companies like Infosys and TCS, who originally studied in Goa, did his mechanical engineering in Goa, but then diversified and went into IT. We are going to hear from him why IT has become such an important subject, why you should consider IT as a career option if you can measure up to the expectations he's going to tell you about. Like for example, he's going to tell us about how important is maths and physics important in choosing a career in the computer world. If he says it is not, then you have an expert telling you that, not me. I am no expert in computers. So Mr. Vincent Toscano, I welcome you to our program.
Thank you, sir.
We are doing this, we have done almost 30 programs in career options.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Great.
And I'm very happy that we have got an expert from companies like Infosys and TCS to tell us why a student and how a student can choose IT as an option in his career.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir.
Yeah. So let us straight away go to this. Why did you choose IT as an option?
In fact, in my time, this was 1990. It was, actually out of lack of choice, so to say, and by total accident. So in my 10th in 1988, I had topped in my village. So naturally in those days we had that template that above so and so you go into science, commerce, arts. So I ended up in science. Of course I had a natural inclination for science, but never expected calculus and those things to get so complicated suddenly from 10 to 11. So I struggled, had a difficult adolescent time of my own. So that too complicated matters for me. So passed 11th with condemnation. And first 12th attempt, I failed in maths and chem. My father realized, and at that time, I think he was already 65. Okay, and he was still working to support me. And he realized that, this boy probably needs to be hooked on to something else. And despite him being illiterate, and that is what I find amazing, that in that age, my illiterate father saw one ad in a newspaper about a computer course at an institute called Data Pro at Panjim Market. And I remember the scene, he and me, his rebel son, and he, elderly man with a straw hat, we riding in the back of a public carrier rickshaw from Shorao to Panjim, along with other fisher folks and mango, fruit vendors. And registering me for that for some 6,500 in those times was big money for my father, and he bet it on me. Initially I felt what's the big deal, but when I got to understand how flowcharts are done, flowcharts, anybody who wants to get into IT, mark this word, flowcharts, okay, please Google on that and understand how to create a flowchart. It is a visual representation of logic. When I understood flowcharts, and then I learned in those days a language called BASIC, beginners all-purpose something language, whatever. Okay, I realized the real power of computers. That this super expensive machine is actually my slave. Me, a boy from Shorao, a failure in 12th, and still I'm the boss. That thing was empowering to me. To realize that whatever instructions I give is the only thing that this computer will do. Wow. That set me free. That opened up my mind to saying, wow, this is what I love. And in those days, it's not that we had, unlimited access to the computer lab. So I would sit at home, make my detailed program writing in pen and paper, writing the full program code, logic, everything, so that when I get my limited time there of 1 hour, I would not be thinking what to do. I would be just typing and getting it done. Second skill important for anybody wanting to get into IT world is typing. As rudimentary and as boring and so to say, low as it looks, we have computer programmers in today's IT world who are still typing with these 2 fingers and crawling as though they are grandmothers. Okay, does not work as a programmer. You need to be fast with your hands like a real professional typist. Because the slower you are, the slower you are coding, and hence your productivity. So that thing got me hooked, that experience, and that is how I got back interested into studies and went on to become an engineer. Without that, Godi of computer programming, I would have never got back.
No, but you got into engineering college and you did mechanical there.
Yeah.
And you got a first class first. But the
Distinction,
point
yeah,
is,
yeah.
mechanical and IT,
Yeah.
they are not quite related, are they?
Not in the real sense. Now, the thing is, actually, before engineering college, when I was still at this computer institute, by accident, when somebody was going to Polytechnic to get admission form for their cousin, I just tagged along. I didn't even have an idea what Polytechnic is. Got admitted into Polytechnic. The best stream available was mechanical. Yes, I like mechanical, no doubt. And from there, when I topped all Goan Polytechnic, I got direct admission into second year of engineering. So that's how I, being a passionate programmer, ended up being a mechanical engineer. And when I finished my engineering, okay, there were no jobs in mechanical field. And the hottest thing was year 2000 bug to be fixed for the whole world. And in hordes, mechanical, civil, mining, chemical, you name it, all engineers were being taken by the Indian IT companies. Okay, they were looking for that basic, analytical foundation.
Okay.
And that is how I ended up into the IT world.
So you did 18 years
Yeah.
in Infosys and TCS, etc.
Yes,
You
yes,
worked in India and abroad. You rose in the ranks at a very high level. And then, what is your take on all that?
I think if somebody in the first place has open mind to learning, okay, makes the best of whatever opportunities come your way, okay, is a hard worker, okay, and delivers performance, okay, there is no limit to where you can go in the IT world. This is one field where the meritocracy, that is the ability of a person, okay, to deliver results, matters the highest. Because many other places you can hide things. Here you can't hide.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, either your program works or does not work, Okay, so it's extremely important for a person to be able to learn and deliver results.
Now, you see, as you go higher, say now you become, let's say, the general manager, okay? Now, you're not going to be daily on that machine. You'll be doing the major planning, etc., etc. How do you keep up with the latest technology as a GM?
I think it's extremely important. There was a period of time, I think, during those 18 years wherein as you rose up the ranks, it didn't matter so much, or so was the general perception. But then the technological world started leapfrogging, ahead so fast that it was no longer ERP or a small software project. It got commoditized in the form of the smartphone, thanks to Mr. Steve Jobs, okay, bringing out this world of apps and the smartphone. So that revolutionized the whole thing, and it became pervasive. It's like every pocket now had a software, which was business for somebody to create. Okay, so it became extremely important all of a sudden once again for us to get back on top of what was happening in the technological world, at least in terms of general awareness. You may not be able to program it
at that speed,
but at least conceptually you should be able to understand what fits where does the cloud come in, okay, where does automation come in, where do robotics fit in, where does your mobile apps come in, and so on. How do they all work together?
Now, how important is maths and physics in getting into the IT world?
Okay, now when we talk about IT world, generally we refer to programmers. Okay, so if you intend to become a programmer, then yes, at the very least, you need to have absolute clarity on the basic math that you learn in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Okay, at least that. Okay, don't miss your aspect ratios. Know how a right angle triangle is different from an equilateral triangle, and all of these, the ratios and all of that stuff. Okay, this is like ABC. Without this, don't even waste your time and others' time in getting into IT industry. Okay.
But this is as a programmer.
This is at the very least as a programmer. Okay, but it doesn't end with that. Okay, physics is important, especially in terms of the laws of motion, in terms of dynamics of forces, mechanics. Because if you are going into any kind of visual elements like animation or special effects, then you need to understand how these forces would act on different entities you are creating. Okay, so that is where physics comes in. Okay. We are still talking about basic stuff in the IT world. Okay. Then the third is in terms of English. Many people think that to be a nerd and programmer means total disregard to language, especially us Goans. Since we speak Tamil English, we tend to think that we are talking English. English talking doesn't sell in the IT world if you're dealing with professional customers. Because one thing is, and I have realized this, your spoken English may be howsoever bad, doesn't matter. You don't need to get the pronunciation right. It's all fine. I've seen Japanese, Spanish, French, They don't care about, and nobody breaks their head as long as you can get your message across. When it is verbal, when it is in person, it's fine. But when it comes to anything in writing, anything as a content on your website, it has to be perfect English. You understand? And this is where our children today take it for granted, especially those who are technically oriented tend to think, language, not my botheration.
Not my baby, yeah.
But if your buttons are not named properly, if your navigation menus are not named properly, you make spelling mistakes, your grammar is bad, howsoever great code you might have written behind it, the customer visitors will only see the front end and feel this is substandard.
Okay, so having said that, and knowing that as a Goan boy, you studied here, you worked abroad, came back here, what do you think about our Goan boys today, our students today? Can they make it?
See, Goa is a land, irrespective of community or any kind of identity, we are abundantly blessed with talent. There is nothing short naturally with us. What is short is in our conditioning and upbringing of our children. We have settled for mediocrity today. We have settled for whatever is easy. Okay, and programming world is not an easy world. Okay, you have to slog a lot. The hours don't count. What matters is the outcome. Whether your program, whether your software, your website, whatever be it, even if it is a graphic design or whether it's a piece of music you have recorded or put together EDM or whatever, whether it sounds world class. That is what matters.
So hard work, lot of working hours.
So that would count under hard work. More importantly, and before that, ability to learn continuously.
Right, okay.
It's a journey of lifelong learning. It's not like you do your graduation, have a fancy certificate and now think the world owes me a job. Nobody cares to give you a job in the IT world. You need to earn your place there. And that is where your actual expertise.
Now students, did you hear that? Did you hear this and hear it very, very carefully? If you want to get into IT, you will make big bucks. You will rise very high. But you must get the fundamentals right. Strong in maths, strong in physics, strong in English. Prepare to work long hours and prepare to keep abreast of the changing world in IT. Ability and wanting to learn more and more and more and never stopping even after you get your degree in your hand. It doesn't stop. So if you're one of those Susagad types which we Goans are all labeled as, forget it. Don't go into that. But if you're the ambitious type who are prepared to make a name for yourself in the IT world and maybe be the next Steve Jobs, then we have a future, you have jobs, you have money, you have everything.
Even if I may interrupt, sir, even for the Susegat types, okay, what we spoke so far is the programmer's life, okay, the hardcore technical person, okay. But for the Susegat types as well, IT has lots to offer. You can just do data entry in a BPO place. You just need to be good with typing and being able to type exactly what you're seeing on some scanned documents into an online screen. If you can ensure that, you could be working 9 to 5 specific hours.
But those are low salaries, right?
Would be lower salaries, depending on the kind of intellectual caliber needed, the salaries get accordingly spaced out. You look at the arts field.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
talk about any field of arts today, it's all enabled on a foundation of computers. Okay, so you work at your own pace, susagad, with or maybe even a drink on the side.
Nowadays they say that students, besides getting their degrees, should also go for the free courses available online.
Yes.
Like Coursera, like edX, like Stanford, etc., etc.
Yes.
What do you say about that?
Absolutely. In fact, if a child is clear in terms of what he or she needs to be doing or wants to do with their life, and if it happens to be in the IT world, you need not go to college, because most of what you learn as per current Indian education system is what you will need to unlearn when you come out of it. So you may as well take somebody as a mentor, somebody who has been through this journey, okay, and start learning directly from the online stuff.
So tell me, which are the ones that you would recommend online? Which are the good courses, free, and you can learn online?
See, a number of these, Coursera, EDX, they offer free stuff, okay. Then there is Udemy as well. But the cost of a course is as low as 600 rupees at times, okay. That is a trip to maybe a McDonald's,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay, or just one outing or fuel that you put for a week in your bike. Yeah, with that you could learn a course that could transform your life. from the best of the instructors across the globe.
So you heard that? Coursera, Udemy, Stafford, free courses. Or even if they do charge, they charge only 500, 600 bucks. Now what is that when you are going to pay 50,000 to go abroad and study? Or maybe a few lakhs to study abroad. Think about it. If you have the will, there is a way. If you have no money, there is a way. All you have to do is make up your mind, convince your parents, and if they are not convinced, take them to Mr. Toscano in Shorround.
Most welcome.
And he will be very happy to advise you and your parents. I'm very serious about this, because if you are a talented young man or a young lady, don't waste that talent. God has created all of us to do a particular job and do it well. And if you have the talent to do it well, all you have to do is work hard. And then if you are in doubt, please go to Shorround. And he's got a beautiful house there. I've been there. It is fantastic, and you will learn a lot. You will even learn something about that raspberry thing, which he's going to tell you something about right now. Sir, would you tell us something about raspberry?
Yep, Raspberry Pi is a microcomputer or single board computer created by the Raspberry Pi Foundation in UK, I think some 7-8 years or probably 10 years ago, and with the main objective of making computer education supported by hardware affordable to children from the third world. But over the years it has become extremely popular with hobbyists using it for n number of things, right from TV channels using it for live streaming to people doing robotics, automation, you name it, okay, including media centers at home, in n number of things, CCTV, you can do n number of things. One of the common uses of this, especially when it comes to computer education, is to use this in a desktop mode. Okay, and by the way, all the software is free on this under the free open source software system. So the operating system, all the editing softwares, Word, PowerPoint, Excel equivalents, all of them are available here. You can do your EDM on this. You can using LMS. You can do graphics, and number of things. So it can be used in desktop mode. Okay, and those of you who do not have a system or the means to, let's say, buy a PC or a laptop, in case you haven't got one from the government as yet, then this board comes for around 3,500, and you can connect your HD TV at home or LCD TV at home to this HDMI port, and you connect your mouse and keyboard here, and you have a working computer. This has built-in Bluetooth as well as Wi-Fi, so with that you can connect it to your Wi-Fi at home or hotspot from your phone. I'm sure you all have a phone and you're doing many other wasteful things on it. You connect that same hotspot to this, and you could do a lot of productive and creative stuff, right from robotics to music and so on.
So you call this thing Raspberry
Pi.
Raspberry Pi, and it is available on Apple. On Amazon for approximately about 3,500-4,000.
So
and it is as good as any PC you can get for 25, 30, 40,000.
40,000 would be a little too high. So this in a way could replace a a computer or laptop that you get up to like 20-25,000 in terms of processing power. Because given its size, it's meant for the children level. Okay, so up to school education of higher secondary. Okay, this more than suffices for all the curriculum needs.
Now you have a plan to motivate our students in Goa in the IT world. Now, are you planning city schools, village schools, or both?
See, I believe city schools get enough enablement and exposure generally. Okay, it is more our village schools which are suffering, especially villages in the interior. Like even if I go little on the outskirts of Bicholi or Sangye, Pedne, Kankona, Darbandora, children are suffering right now, and they would go out into the adult world with a severe handicap of not knowing even the basic things on a computer. So our focus is primarily on the villages to begin with, because there the impact for every rupee, let's say, that we put in would be far higher than the same thing in a city where children more or less have the access. So it's the villages to begin with.
And is there a modus operandi in mind?
Modus operandi, now we have two tracks. One is this revival of computer labs in schools. Okay, so there we are using this Raspberry Pi to replace the dead PCs, and reuse the monitor, keyboard, mouse, and as a result you have extremely low, almost no e-waste generated out of this. So you reuse the working hardware, replace the dead thing with this, and you have a working system. So that is one track to revive this, because central government statistics say 72% of Goan schools from KG to higher secondary do not have a single functional computer. That was about a year and a half back, and nothing has happened from the government in that time for this picture to change. Probably the biggest impact we might have had in reviving about 28 schools with crowdfunding using this Raspberry Pi in that time. Yeah. Okay, so that is one track, that is to get that basic thing working, so that at least a child does not go out into, a Goan child does not go out into the world not knowing anything about computers. At least the basic is taken care of. But beyond that, we thought, let's make it more exciting, and that is where, as you can see here, we have recently created this kit called Goa to Mars. The idea of this is to inspire Goan kids, and as you can see, it's a messy box, and all innovation and technology happens amidst mess. So we provide more than 30 different components, okay, different kind of relays and connectors, and this is called a breadboard. Then you have robo car, and you have all of this stuff which is supplied to you, with which a child, or rather we prefer to supply this to schools, children could do more than 20 experiments or projects. Right now, if you look at any science and technology fair in Goa, there's hardly a presence of technology except cookie cutter things which are copied from the internet. Whereas this is intended to be like from the ground up learning, starting with the concepts. Starting with the concepts of each of the sensors. How does an infrared sensor work? How does a LED work? Starting from that level up. And we are making this as an in-person as well as an online training. So this hardware and the training put together comes for around 40,000 approximately, including taxes, all of that, and comes with 10 hours of classroom training and limitless remote support over WhatsApp, email, calls, whatever, so that children no longer are stuck only at the basic, but using the same thing in this dual mode for robotics and automation using these GPIO pins, can learn robotics here in school, because that is what the first world kids are doing. When the same technology, same software is available virtually free for our students, why should we not? What are we waiting for? That is the perspective. So this is the modus operandi, sir.
So once again, I would like to say to parents watching this program, if you are a member of the PTA, I would sincerely request you to take that role of yours very, very seriously and pound every door, be the principal, be the director of education, be whoever, and say, let us move. We are stuck. Let us move. And if we move, who is going to benefit? Your own child. It is an eye-opener. It is something that a gentleman who has given up 18 years of working in many, many major companies in the IT world, he knows what is happening abroad, and he wants to bring it here to our Goan people. So what are we waiting for? Just give him a ring. He'll be happy to answer your questions, and he'll be happy to even go to your principal as a PTA advisor and say, okay, this is what we can do. Think about it. Students, you heard, if you want to take IT as a career, maths, physics, hard work, long working hours, and there is free courses available on the net for anything you want to learn. And again, if you want to ask advice, please go to this gentleman. He'll be happy to advise you. Thank you very much, Mr. Vincent.
Thank you, sir.
And I hope what you have come to achieve in Goa will succeed in the near future.
I too hope the same.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.